Now, there's a new saloon in town, and it's a bit of a game changer. Have a look at this.
This is the new Volvo S60. Yes, a saloon when nobody wants them. But this is no ordinary saloon. For a start, well, look at it. It's also made with boron steel, which is 400% stronger than normal steel. It comes in a petrol 250 horsepower 4-cylinder 2-litre or a petrol twin-engine hybrid model all-wheel drive with 400 horsepower. It has the best seats in the class, tons of room in the back, and is more likely to keep you alive than any other saloon. Right, with the sales bit out the way, let's get into it. And it's at this point I should remind you, Volvo are one of the most forward-thinking car companies in the world. They're not about old people, pioneering all sorts of exciting things, which you will learn about in this film. But first, what's it like on the road?
The driving experience itself is very interesting because it's comfortable but also nimble at the same time. How can something be sporty yet luxurious? Well, this is that, and they've achieved it, which is very clever. It sits nicely between the 3 Series and the C-Class, just right, without offending either of those or going into their territory. It's got its own little original niche, this has. And you know something else? It's a bit more original, you know? It's like, you turn up to work in one of these, it'd be like wearing a new scent, wouldn't it? It'd be like, oh, what are you wearing? Well, I'm not telling you, am I? Because you'll all be wearing it next week.
Do you know, that sort of originality is a bit like how Leasing.com actually just won the Car Finance Game Changer Award, because leasing is, well, now cool, and it's simpler than you think.
All you do is go on the website, check whether you're a business or an individual, check your monthly payment and your deposit, and that's it. At the end of the term, you just give the car back. And the good thing is, you always get the best bit of the car, the new bit. No one's touched the steering wheel, the engine's all quiet, doesn't rattle. Like that.
Inside this S60 is a unique side impact protection system. A total of 6 airbags for individual important parts of the body. There are seats that move away from accidents, a safety cage stronger than any other car, and sensors frantically looking for an accident, almost as if it wants you to have one so that it can prove it can avoid it. You can specify a pan roof in this, whereas you can't in a 3 Series. In fact, speaking of which, this is almost the same size as one, with a little less loading space.
It's got all the different driving modes, which don't do a great deal because it hasn't got adaptive this, that and the other, but it's okay. I'm in dynamic mode, which does make the gears a little bit unusual, but it's not bad. Nice 8-speed automatic gearbox, which is smooth and quite imperceptible. I like this little head-up display because now I'm in town, as soon as I get beyond the stopping distance of this car in front, I get a little orange warning sort of thing, and as I get closer it gets brighter and brighter. Again, it's the little things. I like all this. Life-saving is in at the moment.
So is automation, and the radar cruise in this is very good. In fact, good enough to make your journey to work on the motorway feel like you've actually gone on the train. It follows traffic in town too, and slows on corners with very little of that jolty or surprising acceleration stuff that you might get in a Golf. There is, however, one thing that Volvo don't do so well at, and that is coming up soon.
If you were wondering what that is on the dash there, that's the Bowers & Wilkins sound system. Oh, he's going to talk about the sound now. Quickly, switch up, don't. Now, this is the best system there is. I said before, the best system until I heard this was the C-Class. Then below that was the Harman Kardon that you get in a 7 Series. That is amazing. Oh, by the way, if you want to send me anything, Bowers & Wilkins, basically I quite like your headphones.
On the subject of auditory stuff,
I like the sound docs, send all those. Leasing.com, the office.
The S60 also surprised me in another area that I didn't think it would in.
This is the loudest road in Great Britain, but I use it for road noise testing. Interestingly, there's a quiet bit. On a quiet bit at 60, this is doing about 50 decibels, which is 2 decibels quieter than my own car, which is a G11 7 Series. Go figure. No run flats on this, and this is 20-inch wheels, so you're going to be all right in this. Interesting fact, Volvo teamed up in 2016 with Uber to develop a system whereby Uber would put their software in the cars, Volvo would make the cars all autonomous, and they would drive themselves around with people in them. Good, isn't it? Well, now it's actually happening. In somewhere in Sweden, there is an XC90 with Uber software in it, driving around on its own. The plan is to manufacture hundreds of thousands of these cars. This is actually happening. This stuff is happening now.
For now, you, unlike this Volvo truck designed to automate deliveries, will have to drive it yourself. If you want some automation and maximum safety, you'll need to add IntelliSafe Pro, which thankfully is only £1,625 or £33 a month, on top of a 4-year quote. This bus is another idea of Volvo's, enabling in theory a partly driverless public transport system, which this driver seems delighted about. And that's just 2 of the new things that Volvo are doing.
Not much has changed here. This is still one of my top systems. If I'm being honest though, even though it's got all these lovely safety features here, you've got Spotify, you've got Apple and Android, all of that is great. It is a little bit annoyingly slow, has problems with connecting to Spotify occasionally, and I'm not sure why. However, it is still in my, I think it's gone down a place now. It's down to number 4 now. I think there are faster systems. It's good to look at. You will get a bit bored of it quicker than you will in a Mercedes or a BMW perhaps. This is the Volvo On Call app. The reason I like this is it does 3 unique things. The first is Center Car. That's not new, but it is very useful to have. You can be in a cafe, put a route in your phone, it ends up in the car when you get in. The second thing it does is remote starting. Perfect for a winter's morning. The third, and by far my favourite, is it beeps the horn and flashes the lights for you when you lose the car in Westfield. Very good.
Well, there was nearly the end of my week with the Volvo S60, which I preferred considerably as a driver's car to the bigger one, the S90, which for me doesn't really do enough to compete with the Challengers. On the other hand, this does. It looks as good as the new 3 Series and probably a little better than a Saloon C-Class. But as good as it is to drive, there are just a couple of small things. Firstly, both the 3 Series and the C-Class start 60 quid a month cheaper, making this quite expensive perhaps for what it is. I also have a feeling that both those other cars might do slightly better in the miles to the gallon department. I'll just leave this here.